wet, 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 wet. Ayy, my new chain wet. Ayy, my outfit wet. Ayy, my bitch stay wet. Ayy, niggas play they getting wet. Ayy, leave a nigga shirt wet. Ayy, that new sleeve wet. Ayy, can't touch the dog yet. Ayy, that shit still wet. Still wet. Wet, wet, wet. Ayy, real wet. Gutter wet. Shit wet. Ayy, throw a bitch in the swimming pool at the Siberius, got her hair wet. She jumped out the water looking all wet. Wet bitch, what we call that? We call it jug when the dope wet. My last CD was so wet. My new bitch from somewhere in Cali. My last bitch from the projects. Ayy, everything wet. From the just down to the steps. DameDot drippin' fit wet. Little niggas riding around with text. Put that little bullshit up for your ass get wet. My niggas rock them Dracos. Turn a nigga ass to an ant. Ayy, phone dry with no Clio. DameDot can make shit wet. Look, 5 for the jersey, 6 for the shoes. Don't include, yeah, the new improved FN I got with me. Niggas round knock cause I'm up. You was not with me. Come through with a shopper cart, come shop with me. Ice on my neck. It was too hot, it might melt. Now I got my shirt all wet. Fuck your bitch, got the neck suck dick with respect. She left a nigga jeans all wet. Me's daughters be so wet. When the hoes hear how I'm talking, watch the pussy get wet. Nigga, I'm the KOS. Nigga say different than he must be dry, that's a fact. Nigga, I'm blessed. I ain't got time for a bitch unless the bitch wet, wet, wet. RGS is set, TIDFG, pussy nigga get wet. Blah, wet, 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 wet. Ayy, my new chain wet. Ayy, my outfit wet. Ayy, my bitch stay wet. Ayy, niggas play they getting wet. Ayy, leave a nigga shirt wet. Ayy, that new sleeve wet. Ayy, can't touch the dog yet. Ayy, that shit still wet. Still wet. Wet, 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 wet.
Sweeze.
Wet, wet.
Your bitch get wet, but the jury just wet her. She wanna eat the dick and the nigga just met her. The bitch ain't shit, really coulda did better, but I'm high off the molly and I just might let her. Bag came in and I just might stretch it. Wet a little bit, then I just might press her. Stack it all up when I give my extras, then cop another watch when I feel like flexing. FG with a new gang, nigga rock stars full of blue things. Bitch niggas with they mood swings, we play with long sticks, that's a pool game. Or ride out with that Draco, get your car wet, that's a Mako. Whether dog food or yayo, blocks on blocks, that's Lego. Niggas talk, we ain't worried about it. Nigga hit them up, knock the words out them. Nigga cop coops just to serve out them. Flex without trying, that's a nerve problem. Nigga put this on my brother Shamar. The bitch ate the dick if she up in the car. Nigga keep straps only up in the bar. If you ain't FG, give a fuck who you are. Out of town hoes love a Detroit nigga. Get her pussy wetter than the Detroit River. You was broke back up in Detroit, nigga. I was out here throwing white like a Detroit pitcher. Dolce on my feet, Ferragamo on my belt. And I know the shit don't match, but my outfit's so wet. Sweeze.
Wet, 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 wet. Ayy, my new chain wet. Ayy, my outfit wet. Ayy, my bitch stay wet. Ayy, niggas play they getting wet. Ayy, leave a nigga shirt wet. Ayy, that new sleeve wet. Ayy, can't touch the dog yet. Ayy, that shit still wet. Still wet. Wet, 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 wet. Ayy, my new chain wet. Ayy, my outfit wet. Ayy, my bitch stay wet. Ayy, niggas play they getting wet. Ayy, leave a nigga shirt wet. Ayy, that new sleeve wet. Ayy, can't touch the dog yet.